Hey everyone. So, even though we're early on still in the season, injuries have played a major role in the NHL year so far. Um, there are some teams that are just absolutely riddled with injuries right now, and it's um, really affecting their play and hurting their seasons. Um, it's every team deals with injuries every year. They're always important, and it's a constant thing in sports in general, not just hockey. Injuries are a really important factor. But man, some of these teams are just getting destroyed right now, just injury after injury, and it's really hard to deal with and it's tough to be a competitive team in the NHL when half of your team is on injured reserve and you've got basically your AHL team playing it in the NHL. So the first team, this one has been talked about a lot, Anaheim. Anaheim has a ton of players, and not only players, important key players out injured right now. Kessler's coming off hip surgery. No clue when he'll be back. Probably at least December. That would be at the absolute earliest. Eves has some sort of illness. They're not even thinking about him coming back yet. They're thinking about him just being okay. So I wouldn't even be surprised if you don't see Eves at all the rest of this year. Fowler's out and Getzlaf is out. Getzlaf could be gone for up to 2 months. These guys are all on IR right now, and these aren't just players on the Ducks. These are key players on the Ducks. Ryan Kessler is a perennial Selke Trophy candidate, a number 2 center, a guy who can score 50-plus points and shut down the other team's best players. Really key guy. He's out for at least another month. Patrick Eves, 30-goal scorer last year. He's an important player, really adds scoring depth to the team. Fowler's a top 4 defenseman, and Getzlaf is your captain and one of your best players. So these are key guys out for the Ducks. And then day-to-day is John Gibson and Casa, who got hit in the LA game. It seems like he's out with a concussion, so if that gets any worse, then he could end up on IR too. So this team is missing a ton of players and a ton of key players. So far they've dealt with it fairly well. They're staying afloat in the Pacific. They're staying above 500. They need to get some guys back. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like any of those guys are ready to come back soon, except for maybe Gibson, who I believe was struggling with migraine, so he could be back anytime. Boston, watched them last night on lose to the Rangers. This team is missing a ton. They're playing a ton of rookies right now. They're bottom. They've got 3 or 4 guys in the lineup who belong in the AHL, but there's just not enough bodies, and they need them to play at the NHL level. Nolachari, he's been out for pretty much the whole season, but he should be back. He's coming back hopefully this weekend. I think he'll either play Friday or Saturday, so they're getting him back. He's a really important energy guy, good fine forward for them. But Spooner's out, McQuaid's out, Krejci's out, Backes is out. They're all on IR. Of all of them, I would say that Krejci is probably the first one to come back, but even that could be 2-3 weeks down the road. McQuaid's out for a long time with a broken leg. Backes is out after colon surgery. So those two you're looking at way down the road before you can even think about seeing them again. Spooner, I'm not entirely sure about, but he seems to be not really anywhere close. So those guys are going to be out for quite a while. Brad Marchand's also missed the last 2 games. He's day-to-day with an upper body injury. They need him back. Hopefully he can play on Friday against Toronto. They need him back. This team is somehow, again, much like the Ducks, they're treading water through all these injuries and somehow staying afloat. They lost last night, but they're still above 500. And they've honestly, for a team with this many injuries, they haven't looked that completely awful. They need to just play 500 hockey until guys can come back. Buffalo is a team with a average to mediocre defense already. Their defense is just destroyed. I didn't even bother talking about the forwards. It's their defense that is just getting destroyed with injuries right now. Zach Bogosian, Josh Georges, and Nathan Bellio are all on IR. And Rasmus Ristolainen and Matt Tennyson are day-to-day. So that is 5 defensemen right there who are out injured right now. For a team that has a not a talented or great defense to begin with, this is just devastating. They have multiple guys playing in the lineup that belong in the American League, and there's nothing they can do. It's just keep calling guys up and keep throwing them in there. But Buffalo is not a very good team, and their injury situation is not helping them. They could be, they would be better. They could be around 500 right now if they had some of these defensemen in the lineup, but they don't, and they're struggling. St. Louis, Robbie Fabry done for the year. Sanford out for a while. Bouwmeester, I think, is coming back somewhat soon, but he's still out. And Patrick Berglund still out. So those are some key players still out for the Blues. Now the Blues have completely ignored their injury situation and are one of the best teams in the league. It's really unbelievable what they've done this year with 4 key guys out, and Alexander Steen, he's back now, but he missed some significant time with an injury. So that's why I added him with the asterisk, because he is back now, but he missed a lot of time this season. So with this many injuries, it's unbelievable that the Blues are, I believe they're 12-3-1 now. First place in the Central Division. That's really unbelievable. They're doing a lot more than treading water. I can't imagine what this team's going to be like when some of these guys come back. Bouwmeester, I think, will be back somewhat soon. Berglund should be back, I think, in December. Sanford could be back. I'm not exactly sure. I think they're thinking like January for him. Fabry's done for the year with the knee injury, but they are getting some of these reinforcements back. I can only imagine how good they're going to be when these guys get back. And lastly, Philadelphia, a lot of defense for them. Their situation's getting better. Andrew McDonald and Nolan Patrick are still on IR. So there's 2 key losses there. Radko Gudas is out day-to-day. He's been out for a while. He got hurt. I think it was either early last week or at some point the week before, but he's been out for a little bit now. And Shane Gostisbehere, he's back, but he missed some time with injury. So their defense, at one point they had Gudas, McDonald, and Gostisbehere out. They had 3 of their top, 6 defensemen out at the same time. They had to call some guys up from the AHL and play guys that normally wouldn't be playing. So another team, they've treaded water. They're around 500. They've survived without the injuries, and once guys start coming back, then they have a chance to go on a run. It's really important when your team's riddled with injuries like these teams are to stay around 500 and tread water. Because if you dig yourself a hole, then even when those guys come back, all the effort's going to go, and all the wins are going to go towards digging out of the hole rather than advancing in the standings and being into a playoff spot. But if you can tread water and stay around 500 when your team's really banged up, then when you start getting guys back and start playing better and start ripping off some wins, then you find yourself climbing into the standings and into a playoff spot rather than just digging out of a deep hole from all the losses. So for really all these teams, these injuries have not killed them yet, but they need to get guys back. And for some of these teams, they're going to be getting guys back, and that's good for them. But again, these are just some of the teams riddled with injuries. They're, I think, the most injured right now. Other teams obviously are dealing with injuries too, but those were the 5 big ones. So like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, spread the word. We want this channel to grow. Thank you very much for watching. talk to you guys soon.